Elon Musk, who yesterday gave a extraordinary interview, and I think that's the only way to describe it, with Andrew Ross Sorkin of CNBC and of Dealbook over at the New York Times. He was asked, Andrew Ross Sorkin of Elon, he was like, okay, what is your message to advertisers who pulled their advertisers after one of the controversial tweets Elon sent around immigration, anti-Semitism, and more, which precipitated his eventual trip to Israel? Here was his message to advertisers who pulled their dollars, including Disney CEO Bob Iger. Let's take a listen.
Obviously, you know that there's a public perception that, and you're clarifying this now, but there's a public perception that that was part of a apology tour, if you will, that this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
But
go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
How do you think then about the economics of X? If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising. If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
F-Y.
I understand that, but there's a reality too, right?
Yes. No.
I mean, Linda Yaccarino's right here, and she's got to sell advertising.
Absolutely. So, totally. No. Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do? It's going to kill the company.
And do you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh yeah.
They're going to say,
tell it to Earth.
But they're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things, and that they were inappropriate things, and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. Right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that.
Okay, a little bit of an odd interview that was there, but we wanted to play...
Is there any non-odd interview with Elon Musk?
Yeah, fair point. The reason we wanted to play the full clip there is it makes a couple of things clear. He was speaking basically directly to Bob Iger when he was like, hey, Bob, who Disney CEO, who specifically pulled some of the advertising that they had there. But I think he was setting it up for an eventual bankruptcy lawsuit. That's how I read his comments when he said, well, they'll call the company. And this is frankly a major... It's complicated for me. I have sympathy for the idea, since we built this business, to be anti-fragile against advertising and boycotts and all these other things based upon a subscription model. The problem is the subscription model they came up with is just not very good. Twitter Blue has no real compelling reason to sign up for it and has been a tremendous failure in terms of replacing advertising revenue with the company. Twitter itself is so massively reliant on Fortune 500 companies to advertise on the platform because some $5 billion of their revenue, nearly 90% of it, came from those companies in the year before it sold to Elon, and a huge portion of them have canceled either through management of the platform and even this particular boycott, which this is the other part where I agree, Media Matters and all these other people, these are heinous and annoying people. That said, you shouldn't give them ammunition to work with to then facilitate boycotts against your company. You don't have a right to advertise.
Right.
And this is where, much of the rhetoric around this is so complicated. Like, I hate the ADL, I hate Media Matters, I hate all these people who are, I think, dishonest and bad faith and the way that they encourage all of this. But, you also, if you're in a business relationship with Disney and with all these other people where you do literally rely on them for the bulk of your revenue, you're kind of in a rock and a hard place unless you're going to develop a much, much better subscription-based revenue model, which they frankly just have not done with the Twitter Blue program. There's not a compelling reason reason, honestly, to sign up for the vast majority of people, and especially to replace $5 billion of revenue. So I think Elon is in a tough spot, and it's very likely that he has just resigned himself to, like, this company's going bankrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already said it's worth half of what I bought it for, but I mean, a lot of people are interpreting that as the definition of FU money. They're like, well, you can say FU to your biggest advertiser. But the big question is like, hey, who the hell is going to own this site in a year? Is it going to be Elon or is it the bankers? I'm increasingly coming on the side of the bankers.
Well, yeah, I read it the same way as you did, as like a pre-story and like pre-buttal and cope in advance of the failure of Twitter, of like, well, it's not my fault. It's these advertisers who are boycotting. And to your point, listen, I would love nothing more than to be able to be like, go off king when you're telling advertisers to go screw themselves.
Same.
I would love that.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's been used in service of some sort of consistent principle. You know, I mean, claims to be the free speech guy, just banned saying decolonization on his platform, or from the river to the sea, which, by the way, is in Likud's charter as much as it's in Hamas's charter. So it's not like his principles about free speech have been consistent remotely at all. In fact, in some ways, he's been more censorious than the previous Twitter regime. So again, it's not like this has been in service of any sort of a principle. And no advertiser owes you their dollars. It's up to you, Mr. Genius Businessman, to figure out a business plan that's going to work without depending on the advertisers. So yeah, that's capitalism. You're the uber capitalist. You should understand this more than anyone. And if we can figure out a business model that could be impervious to boycotts and, you know, anticipate the fact that we say things that are controversial and piss people off and could rub people the wrong way and lead to those sorts of things, like if we can figure that out, you can't figure that out for Twitter. So I think it's preposterous that the world would blame the advertisers for leaving a platform that, you know, putting aside his like crazy tweets and the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories he endorses and whatever, has just been like horrifically mismanaged throughout this entire time from a business perspective. The person I was thinking about, he shouts out Bob Iger, who's sitting in the audience, which is kind of incredible. And but also I'm thinking about Linda Yaccarino, who was brought in.
CEO, yeah.
She was like the head of advertising at NBC. She's brought in to be the CEO specifically because she has all these cozy relationships with, blue chip brands and all of these advertisers that you'd want to be bringing in. I know she put out some kind of a statement this morning. I don't know if you have it pulled up, Saagar,
I can pull it up.
I can only imagine this has to be one of the worst days of her life. Like, how humiliating for her that the very thing she was brought in to try to accomplish, like working these relationships and try to convince people it's fine to be back on the platform, in 3 words, GFY, he's able to completely blow any and all of that up. And I cannot but imagine that there's going to be additional fallout. We'll get the numbers a month from now of how many additional advertisers are like, all right, screw you then, I'm gone.
So I have the tweet that she post, I'm sorry, that Elon says it's no longer a tweet. He says, today Elon Musk gave a wide-ranging and candid interview at Dealbook 2023. He also offered an apology, an explanation, explicit point of view about our position. X is enabling and information independence is uncomfortable for some people. We're a platform that allows people to make their own decisions, and here's my perspective when it comes to advertising. X is standing at a unique and amazing intersection of free speech and Main Street. The X community is powerful, is here to welcome you, to our partners who believe in our meaningful work. Thank you. Wow.
Okay.
That's certainly something. In terms of spinning that one, if anything, I just appreciate Elon's, he thinks this is all a game. He thinks that at the end of the day, he seems very, very comfortable with it going bankrupt. I think it's clear that I think he probably wishes that he didn't buy it in the long run.
Yeah.
And I guess, listen, as a guy who supports Tesla and SpaceX and Starlink and all of that, I would love nothing more than for him fulfill his actual promise that he made a long time ago, which is to step back and focus on these companies. I think the Cybertruck looks awesome. Personally, I'd be happy to get one as soon as it's actually available. I think that those companies are far better validation of his legacy and all of that, and he should probably move in that direction if he wants to remain a historical figure. But at the end of the day, I guess he can afford it. He doesn't particularly care. We should also, it's clear too that tweet that he sent, or that sparked all of his Israel trip and all of this advertising
He claims
backlash.
the Israel trip was already planned.
Yeah,
Saagar.
okay, sure. Anyway, he claimed also in that interview it was the most foolish tweet that he's ever sent. Let's take a listen.
When you see all this happening, are you sitting there going, oh my God, I stepped in it. I wish I didn't do that? Are you saying, screw them, I hate these people, why are they after me?
But all of that. Yeah, all of that. Look, I'm sorry for that tweet or post. It was foolish of me. Of the 30,000, it might be literally the worst and dumbest post that I've ever done. And I try to my best to clarify 6 ways to Sunday. But at least I think over time it will be obvious that, in fact, far from being anti-Semitic, I'm in fact philo-Semitic. And all the evidence in my track record would support that.
Let me ask you this, though. There are people who say crazy things on X, as you know. Maybe you think they're crazy, maybe they're not.
The aspiration for X is to be the global town square. Now, if you were to walk down to, let's say, Times Square,
Right.
Do you occasionally hear people saying crazy things?
Yes, but they're not. But they don't have the megaphone, right? And that's the conundrum.
No,
right? They can only say it to the 50 or 100 people that are standing there in Times Square.
They don't have a I mean, look, the joke I used to make about old Twitter was it was like giving everyone in the psych ward a megaphone.
So there you go, Krystal. He said this is the most foolish thing that he's ever done, which I don't think is true. I think the worst tweet he ever sent is whenever he claimed that Tesla was going to go private, and he ended up getting fined millions of dollars.
That was a bad one,
the
too.
SEC. That, in my opinion,
there are many
the way
to
it works.
choose from.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder for people who didn't follow the story closely, what he replied to a tweet that said, okay, Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. I'm deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest shit now about Western Jewish populations coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country don't exactly like them too much. You want truth said to your face, there it is, to which Elon replies, you have said the actual truth. It took me a while to actually parse what the hell this original person was saying, but basically the idea is Jews deserve what they get on October 7th because they vote bad in democratic politics.
That is
effectively the
a
essence of
TLDR.
what's going on here.
There's-
So not really something you want to co-sign necessarily.
I would not co-sign that if I was Elon. So Elon, go back to Tesla. We will all be much better off.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.